older adults, and it's an information technology that's more accessible to a person that really either doesn't care to become skilled in operating a device. The GrandPad pretty much is very easy for an older adult to interact, and you just plug it in and it gets a cell tower signal, and then voila, they are then in touch with their family and friends and other people that they care about. So we're doing 10 GrandPads in our program. Aside from the GrandPads, we have about 80 to 100 participants, and so we're up to where our budget allows us to operate. And so, like I said, some of the seniors fluctuate in and out of the program, and others participate on a weekly basis. We've also developed a lot of community partnerships with behavioral health partners that are all around Oregon, and they help feed our referral system. And so through those relationships that we've formed, that feeds the program nicely at this point. And so we stay in touch with those folks. The referral comes in, and then we talk to the person who refers and just make sure that the senior's ready to receive their welcoming phone call. And then I'm the program supervisor for day-to-day operations. And so I get back in touch with them and have a nice phone call, welcome them to the program. And then I get a little sense for what that senior's interests are. And then with our 10 staff that we have, I can kind of think, okay, who would be a good match for this senior? And so we start them out with someone that hopefully would be a good person for them to develop a peer support relationship with. And so the community partners are great. We also have some consulting that we do with behavioral health folks. In fact, the person who Sharon worked with in the beginning of the program, she found out about the call and time program over in the United Kingdom, where they do this type of telephone peer support with older adults. And so that person from the very beginning, her name is Janet, and she was our consultant, and she's a social worker who really, really gets peer support. And so she's just been invaluable for when we have questions about, say, if maybe there's a mandatory reporting type of situation, we'll, get with Sharon and then get with Janet and then talk about the situation and really try to, manage the situation according to the way our peer would like to see the situation unfold. And so that's been very invaluable as well. So yeah, we just want to share a lot today about this program and be able to have a nice conversation at the end. So we're going to try to move through the information. And so without any further ado, here's Sharon, and she'll kind of let you know.
Todd.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead to the next slide. I wanted to say what we've learned with the older adults we feel is relevant to such a larger group of peers and people in the world right now. I mean, who in the world is not dealing with loneliness, grief, and isolation? It's such a major experience for everyone. So I really hope that even if you're not working with older adults, you might find this useful. We wanted to mention that this program, the Oregon Senior Peer Outreach, is a development out of the long-term, very well-established peer support warm line, the David Romprey Oregon Warm Line. It has been going steadily for 15 years. I personally have been working with the warm line for 3.5 years. Kudos to my predecessor, Angel Prater, who did a lot of foundational work to get this warm line so strong. And over the time that I've been here, we have increased our volume and capacity in a very large way, including starting this specific program that serves Oregon seniors, and feeling really, really good about that. I mean, I feel like we are so blessed to work with these older adults who are not having a lot of social connection in their lives. In some parallel universe, I'm sure it's true that instead of paying peers to talk to older adults, we would be paying older adults to talk to younger people because they are so wise and have such incredible stories. And they also have incredible loss and pain. And so we have had to learn about how to take care of ourselves well and support one another to be available to the seniors who are living at the edges, whether they're in the frontier area of the state or living in a facility where no one is giving them any good attention. So there's a lot of different things that happen to our seniors that I hope we can improve on. Next slide, please. This is the outline for what we're hoping to cover today, to talk a little bit about our own individual experience of loneliness and loss. What does that look like for us in our experience so far? And then we want to talk about some of the approaches that we find most useful, really focusing on the importance of empathy and feeling with, and how that is different from sympathy, which often doesn't feel good to the person who's being sympathized with. And really, what does it look like to be present with pain, uncertainty, discomfort? Grief and loneliness are not easy things to be with, but how can we prepare ourselves and show up with some skills in a way that makes us really available to connect with and develop meaningful relationships with our older adults? So we're going to talk a little bit about validation and mutuality as key skills. And then we're also going to end our time together today focusing on connection and resilience, and how do we work together as a team to keep ourselves refreshed and replenished, and in touch with the resilience that's within each of us. So that's our game plan. I hope we can, move quickly through this because it's a lot that we want to do with you in a short time. I didn't really give you a proper introduction about myself, but I want to say this. I've worked in the consumer survivor ex-patient movement for a long time, and where I've wound up is very committed to peer support as a practice. There's really nothing else that comes close to it. It's the purest and most beautiful learning that has evolved through our collective struggles. So I take great pleasure and just a lot of joy in being part of facilitating a large group of people that put on these two programs, and it's just very, very wonderful. Next slide, please. Intentional peer support. We really can't talk about the warm line or the senior peer outreach without mentioning intentional peer support, because that is our foundation. It's our practice. We're very committed to it. We really believe in these 3 principles and 4 tasks. It just really works for having enriching relationships where we're listening, we're learning with, we are honoring people, we're telling our truth and being authentic. We're not helping anyone, we're learning with them, we're focusing on the relationship, and we're moving whenever we can from fear to a sense of hope and possibility. The practice of our older adult senior peer support specialists is that they are, they're trained in intentional peer support, and they apply the tasks each time that they're calling a senior, connecting, exploring that person's worldview, always kind of bringing it back to a focus on the relationship, and looking for opportunities to identify what we want to move toward in that relationship with a senior that we call week after week. Todd and I have both taken this, we've been partners in developing this program, and it's been a very satisfying experience to do this. But we've also each taken some seniors who we call each week. And I have one senior that I've called almost since the beginning, and I so value my relationship with her. I learned so much from her, and it's one of the closest, most valuable relationships in my life. So this IPS stuff, it's real. Todd, is there anything else you want to say about IPS before we go to the next slide? Oh, and am I giving Sharon Mead the credit that I should for IPS? No, I neglected to say that. And thank you for that little, thank you for our chat because it popped up on my screen. Sherry Mead is the one who authored IPS. She did pioneering work in capturing what is it that we do that makes intentional peer support or trauma-informed peer support? What does it look like? And she and her team have spent, Chris Hansen and Steve Morgan, Ava Desch have spent years evolving the curriculum. It just keeps getting better, but I love it because the bottom line is that peer support is social change. We love to work in an environment in our programs where we're really looking for opportunities to embody IPS and to that social change that we desire. Next slide, please.
Yeah, I think in one of the chat rooms, someone was mentioning, you know, trying to find some peer support training, and I think that the Sherry Mead and the intentional peer support community I think they've rolled out one 40-hour training already, and so they're, you know, trying to put together intentional peer support training online during these peculiar times during the COVID virus. So yeah, I think you can go to their website, ips.org, intentionalpeersupport.org, and be able to, you know, keep up on what's going on with Sherry and company there. And Chris, that's like Sherry and Chris are definitely working it forward into the future. So yeah, the staff that we've got now, they're all IPS trained, and you know, being able to have that older adult focus with an older adult behavioral health specialist who I alluded to earlier from Greater Oregon Behavioral Health, Janet. She's able to provide some of the training insights that our staff of 10 are able to benefit from, so that we can better understand the older adult issues and understand more things about dementia, understand more about grief and loss. So Janet has just been invaluable to the program up until this point. And also the Warm Line benefits from the senior outreach program, which we call the little sister of the Warm Line. And so the Warm Line staff, long ago, it was realized, and this was part of how the Oregon Senior Peer Outreach Program came into being, was that there were a large amount of older adults calling the Warm Line. So this program now is in place so that we can more succinctly serve older adult populations. And next slide, Roman. So the senior peer support specialists are all older adults and trained, like I was just mentioning, for the learning about more about older adults' needs and what resources are available here in Oregon. Our newest contract is with Washington County, where there's a amazing network that's been put together for older adults by one of the 24 older adult behavioral health specialists that are in Oregon. So there's regions of Oregon, and there are older adult behavioral health specialists that are assigned to those regions. And those are some of the community partners that we have. And so that's where a lot of the referrals come from, along with other social workers that find out about the Oregon Senior Peer Outreach Program, and other types of you know, different roles within behavioral health communities, like traditional trying to think of the one. I can't think of it right now, but there's a lot of other folks that are able to refer to peer programs because they know that the Warm Line and the older adult program with Oregon Senior Peer Outreach is in place. All right, next slide. So we've learned that there are some differences between loneliness and isolation, and you can just kind of go across and read from left to right here. Loneliness is more feelings of missing people and the intimacy you loved. Isolation has these feelings of loss of purpose. Loneliness is more like feelings of life stopping. Isolation, feelings of loss of self. Loneliness, feelings of disorientation. Isolation, feelings of worthlessness. Loneliness, feeling like you've been dumped in the deep end with no support. Isolation, feeling socially withdrawn with little reason to reconnect. So the next slide will get into a little bit more of isolation. Next slide, please. So just it's hard when you know a set of factors comes your way that maybe you didn't ever envision. It's kind of like you get blindsided, and so initially when you go through in older adult years, maybe for the first time, feeling that you're no longer connecting with others, feeling this overwhelm of grief because a lot of what you had in your life is no longer there. You're kind of left in a void. And so when that void kind of sets up around a person, you just really feel like you don't even have the gumption or any reason to try to reconnect. And so the social withdrawal can really be like incapacitating. And so, we're finding with the weekly phone call that sometimes people are just really at the bottom with no possible, thoughts of, where to go with their loneliness and feelings of isolation. And so just as you start to call on that weekly basis, you really start to, that person gets to experience a brand new relationship setting up around them. And so therein lies the peer support, effectiveness, is that, a person was really kind of thinking things were not going to get any better. And with intentional peer support coming in and getting to know a new person, it really, revitalizes the possibilities. And then we also very much focus on trying to reconnect that person with some resources if they're needing some resources. Next slide, please.
So the impacts of this social isolation and loneliness, so often people say, oh yeah, loneliness is a serious problem, and we think of it as a mental health problem, but it's becoming more and more widely known that this is actually an overall health problem that is extremely serious. And so just a few isolated facts here. Because I want to jump into the experiential part of our time together, but just to know that part of the reason we're able to get funding, largely through grant writing, for this program is that the health impacts are major on our healthcare system, greater health impact than smoking or obesity. That's equal to smoking 15 cigarettes a day to have that experience of loneliness and isolation. The problems that are compounded by loneliness include memory loss, dementia, much more serious with loneliness, stroke, heart disease. And so this slide doesn't say it, but I know that one of the studies we were looking at while writing said that the likelihood of morbidity, of death, is actually goes up. I believe it was between 26 to 51% based on loneliness. So we're talking about some very serious health impacts when people are not having connection with others. And I'm gonna move us right into the next slide.
All right, here's a great contribution from Age UK. I encourage everybody to check out age.uk. They've got a lot of videos. They have a campaign to end loneliness in the UK. They have a minister of loneliness. So they've taken it on and in a fully national level to end loneliness. And here's one of the really poignant videos they put together. This could be something that they would show on TV over there, so that it could educate the public on how important it is to come alongside older adults who have come up against isolation and loss, and aren't sure if there's anything left for them in life. And so they are aggressive at doing telephone outreach in the UK. I think they use demographics to find out when someone has lost a spouse, and by actually using the demographic research, they can then go ahead and make a phone call to that person and say, this is so and so from Call in Time. I think they have a program that's called Call in Time, and they try to get to making a new connection with a senior that may be freshly experiencing loss and grief. So at the end of this, we're going to let you guys get together in breakout and be able to share with one another some of the impacts that you all feel comfortable sharing about loss that you've had in your life. And we could be inspired by this video to see, kind of see and hear and feel how intense some of the feelings of isolation and loneliness can be. And then Sharon will talk about this more further down the line. And that's the idea of learning to sit with discomfort. And this person that's there supporting this older adult is a good example. She's really listening and empathizing with the older adult. So yeah, as soon as this is over, we'll send you guys into breakout to talk about loss and what that's been like for each of you too. All right, thank you, Roman. Go ahead.
Ready?
Yep.
You can see the screen?
Yes.
And let me know if you don't hear the volume.
Can hear it.
If you've never been lonely, you don't realise what it is like.
It feels as though you've been dumped in the deep end and there's nobody there to rescue you.
Well, you go hours and hours, never speak to anybody.
I don't think you'll ever get used to it. It's always loneliness.
How do you measure loneliness when even trying to talk about it takes your breath away?
The room's just empty.
"91-year-old Margaret Nicholas has lived in this house virtually her whole life, first with her parents, then her husband and family. 2 years ago, her husband died. Now it's just her.
We used to do the garden together, do our shopping together. Everything was done together.
But you obviously miss him.
Who?
Margaret's granddaughter takes her shopping and neighbours pop in to check she's okay. But it's everyday company she misses.
Some people would think me a bit odd, but I do chatter to my husband. I do it so I'm sort of, speaking.
That's the wife with a cousin.
Roy Croucher lives a short drive away. He and Margaret have loneliness in common. He lost his only son to cancer. and then his wife for 50 years.
I'm always hoping that the wife will come through the door, which she never will. If you go out, you come back, and you come back to an empty house, you know, and it's loneliness again. And you're always waiting for somebody to call.
Roy says he's lucky. A friend and her family see him most weeks. But like Margaret, some days the only voice he'll hear is a call from a phone befriending service run by volunteers.
Why don't we stop there, Todd, since we've got, oh, okay, I thought it was.
And how much difference has that made?
Did you want me to stop?
Well, we have till 2 o'clock. I think we're doing pretty well. We could probably finish.
We're about 20 minutes behind where we plan to be. It's fine. I mean, just, we're going to cut something.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only got about 20 more seconds, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well then, let's do this.
Oh, I guess it's got a little more than that.
Phone call that comes on Saturday night when you haven't spoken to anyone else all day?
Well, I always look forward to it. I always put that phone on that seat, ready to pick it up.
Little IT difficulties. Should we just get back to the group?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, we can come back. So
So,
can everybody, are we all on sound again and back into the workshop?
so yeah, so I haven't created any workshops yet or breakout rooms. I'm going to launch that right now. Is that what you want me to do?
That sounds good. We could go into that and you can get that set up and we'll just get everybody
Okay.
ready to go into those rooms.
So it's 3 to 4 people per room. That's as small as they let me. So, the question is, how has loss impacted you in your life? And I will broadcast that to the meeting as well. I'm not sure how that works because I'm not in the breakout groups. So we'll see what happens there. I will go ahead and launch these breakouts right now.
All right. Thanks, Roman. Yeah, everybody, go ahead and get together. And the same question that Roman just asked, go ahead and see what that's like to speak to in your groups. And then we'll come back in about 10 minutes and just have a couple of responses. But we do need to kind of move.
I already launched it.
Okay. So they're all just talking together now?
So you need to click an acceptance of your breakout room on your screen in order to enter the breakout room. If you could do that, that'd be awesome.
I see people doing that. So yeah, click accept to the breakout rooms. And I will type this question into broadcast.
Nice.
And this is going to go 10 minutes, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll time that.
You're doing great.
Well, I will. Let me see. Are we? Looks like mostly everyone is in the breakout rooms.
Yeah, it does.
Some people are not, and that's okay too, if they choose not to. I need to stop this recording right now.
Oh, yeah.
And we're just being really supportive, trying to understand each other and what the differences were. Such a wide variety of natural causes and tragedy and unexpected timing for losses. So it really is a grief and loss. Those feelings are difficult, and I think what Sharon's going to move into next will help us have a few more ways of understanding loss and grief and the process around it.
Thank you. Roman, can we have the next slide?
Yeah, one moment.
I think Todd and I were a little ambitious in what we wanted to cover. We already did this, so we're going to go to the next one. Thank you so much for your participation in the small group. Really, the part I caught was really just what I needed to hear.
One input, just that some people were alone in chats and some people left too. Some people didn't join, so it was a mix. But it looks like there were many chat rooms that were open and full, so that was good too. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you, Roman. And just so you all know, we're learning together because we have not used this software before to do a workshop. So thank you for your patience as we learn together. It seemed to me like that went pretty well. But we wanted to talk about empathy and loss because loss is, as people were sharing, it's painful. It's not easy. There's maybe some reasons within, but it's sometimes very hard to access. But one thing that we just abide with is our intentional peer support skills and the approach that is really based on empathy and feeling with and focusing on our connection in relationships. So our goal is not to fix someone. It's not to problem solve their problems for them and come up with answers for them, but it is to really be right there alongside while they're feeling the feelings of that loss. It's a powerful presence when we can take care of our own needs and being to the extent that we can show up in that way for another. The next piece that we wanted to share with you is a video short by Brene Brown, and I know that many of you may have. It's only a couple minutes, but we just think it's so valuable in terms of further describing the power of empathy and what empathy is. Within the video, Brene outlines the 4 parts of empathy, but I think that I'd like to just move right into this. I'm kind of trying to make up some time because I want to give you guys one more breakout exercise before we round out our session. So, Roman.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Sharon. Some people are having difficulties, so if everyone can mute themselves, they want to be able to hear. Okay, go ahead, Sharon, I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you so much for taking care of this. Roman is going to set up the video to play, and then we will move into an exercise on validation, one of the skills of being with a person. They're really in those big feelings of loss and grief.
This should be active. I don't know what I'm doing here. I see what happened. And let's see.
Not this one.
No, it is this one right here.
Yay.
And let's go.
So what is empathy, and why is it very different than sympathy? Empathy fuels connection Sympathy drives disconnection. Empathy, it's very interesting. Teresa Wiseman is a nursing scholar who studied professions, very diverse professions where empathy is relevant, and came up with 4 qualities of empathy. Perspective taking, the ability to take the perspective of another person or recognize their perspective as their truth. Staying out of judgment, not easy when you enjoy it as much as most of us do. Recognizing emotion in other people and then communicating that. Empathy is feeling with people. And to me, I always think of empathy as this kind of sacred space when someone's kind of in a deep hole and they shout out from the bottom and they say, I'm stuck, it's dark, I'm overwhelmed. And then we look and we say, hey, you climb down. I know what it's like down here, and you're not alone. Sympathy is, ooh, it's bad, no, you want a sandwich? Empathy is a choice, and it's a vulnerable choice, because in order to connect with you, I have to connect with something in myself that knows that feeling. Rarely, if ever, does an empathic response begin with at least. Yeah. And we do it all the time, because you know what? Someone just shared something with us that's incredibly painful, and we're trying to silver lining it. I don't think that's a verb, but I'm using it as one. We're trying to put the silver lining around it. So, I had a miscarriage. Oh, at least you know you can get pregnant. I think my marriage is falling apart. At least you have a marriage. John's getting kicked out of school. At least Sarah is an A student. But one of the things we do sometimes in the face of very difficult conversations is we try to make things better. If I share something with you that's very difficult, I'd rather you say, I don't even know what to say right now, I'm just so glad you told me. Because the truth is, rarely can a response make something better. What makes something better is connection.
Are we done there?
I love that short. It just reminds me so crisply every time of what that looks like. We don't have to fix it by saying the right thing. We just have to actually be there. Roman, I'm wondering if you could bring us back to the next slide. Validation. You know, I wish that we were all in the same room together and that you guys were easily able to give comments, but I wonder if you also, in the power of that being with, that empathizing, the listening in such a way that, I don't even know what to say, but I'm so glad you told me. That is, there's a skill that I think is particularly useful, that at a moment when someone discloses a major loss or pain, makes a statement of pain that is really kind of uncomfortable and hard to be with, there's like a choice point for us right then and there in that moment when someone makes that statement. Are we going to be with that person and their feelings, or are we going to say something, to take the focus to a different place, to increase our own feeling? Compassionate witnessing, absolutely, that's compassionate witnessing. What a great term, Rita. But I wanted to introduce this exercise to give you all the opportunity to practice receiving a pain-filled statement. And what does it look like when that statement is made and you don't go to, oh, I'm sorry to hear that that's so bad for you. And you don't go into, oh, I've got some sandwiches over here, do you want that? And, to distract the person. But you actually just receive what's been said and let it like resonate in your body, and make some statement that just shares that you got it. That was a perfect example in the video. I don't even know what to say. I'm just so glad you told me.
A good comment just came in too, Sharon, where, you know, another person's pain and discomfort, the person that's near them or in proximity to them kind of pushes away, you know, initial response is like I don't want to have to deal with that person's discomfort. So it really is a challenge.
It is. That's why we call it a skill. And because it doesn't just automatically come naturally, I think, to do this. It's very hard. It's hard enough to sit with our own discomfort, which is why we probably don't really want to be with someone else's discomfort, because it reminds us of our own. But I just want to invite you all to think about what that could look like. And also, you know, when we're sitting with someone, we can use body language too. And I put this concept of toning. I don't mean toning as in working out. I mean vocal toning. I have found in my attempt to do validation with difficult things being said to me that sometimes the first thing out of my mouth does not even be a word. It can just be a sound. That reflects the tone of the message that was just given to me. So I think on the next slide is the practice slide. Let's introduce that, and then we can give you the opportunity to go into a breakout and try this. Community is made in pain and discomfort, I think, because there's no competition in it. Yeah, I didn't get to read your whole comment there, but yes, you know, often the common ground that we share is our pain and grief, especially in these times. In our breakout, we had a wonderful talk about the intensity and the commonness of pain and grief right now. And, you know, if there's a silver lining there, it's that we somehow find our own resilience within that, and the resilience that's brought on by our relationships. But I would like to give you an opportunity to try this, just because if you don't already use this skill, I think you'll find it useful. So basically, you're going to be working in pairs. I think we can break out in larger group and have people take turns doing this in pairs. But the first person, you don't have to tell a whole story. I'm sorry, is that a question? Okay. You don't have to tell a whole story. You just make up some kind of a comment that is a comment of loss or grief or feeling hopeless, right? I'm so alone. No one cares if I live or die. Ouch, you know? But the second person wants to listen to the statement and sort of resonate with it and make some statement that is a reflection of hearing that person's feelings, being present with them. So, and then it's up to the first person who made the statement. This is not a time to be polite or to just say, oh yes, that was great, if it didn't feel great. But I really want you to reflect and be authentic. You know, part of our commitment is authenticness and mutuality. We need to tell the other person whether it felt validating or not. Todd, we talked about doing this as a modeling it. Do you want to try it?
Either that, or I think people would be, you know, able to sort this out. We could try it. We could try it. I'm just thinking in the interest of time. And in the interest of time, is there pretty much a cutoff at the time that we're allowed, or it doesn't go beyond?
Which time do you want?
No,
I'll monitor that.
We have to stick in. We've got 16 minutes left. So do we want to do this, or do you want to just? I mean, we were.
Yeah, I'd say let people go to it and learn from one another rather than us practicing and having more time go by.
Okay, Roman, can you give them a short session, like 6 minutes or something?
Sure.
What do you think?
I can do that. 5 to 6.
Okay.
Is that good?
That's good. We'll come back and just wrap it up.
Okay, I'm going to open up the same rooms. And remember to accept, to enter the room if you wish. Now, there was some confusion earlier. Some people didn't want to enter the room, and that's okay too. If that's the case, message me and I'll put you in a different room if you want to participate, okay?
Have fun practicing.
Here we go.
Thank you.
And I'm going to try to broadcast that. Oh, wait a minute. Okay. I may not. Oh, yeah, I can. Here we go.
Hi, Chris.
Maybe another couple more minutes, 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I'll take it up to 150. And I mean, if we go over a little bit, I'm sure people will be okay, maybe 5 minutes or so.
You think so? Okay, let's.
I mean, the first one that I did went over, and even when we do this in person, sometimes we go over.
Yeah.
And
That,
if people want to
thanks.
stay, they can stay. So.
Yeah, thanks for that, Roman. I do want to make sure we have an open discussion and Q&A, so hopefully we can use the rest of our time for that because that's really important.
Maybe cutting the John Prine.
I think so too.
Yeah. Well, we're doing good. You're doing great. It's a lot of good information. It reminds me of my intentional peer support training, that whole week training. It was really good.
Yeah, we love that.
One minute.
Did that photograph paste in?
Yeah, it looked like it did. So
Cool.
I'm not. So you were in one of the chat rooms. Did you see me? Because I broadcast, but I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Let me see if I joined.
Mine didn't work.
All right, Sharon and Todd, can you unmute yourself? Everyone joins back in muted. So. Sharon, please unmute. Todd, oh yeah, everyone's coming in now. Never mind.
Okay, I know we're just gathering. Is Todd back?
Yes.
Oh, good. I just wanted to say, Todd, we've got like a little over 10 minutes. So I don't know. Let's get them to open discussion.
Yeah, for sure. Because we had a couple things end up there, and I suggested, try to remember to say it when we're back in open discussion.
Great. Yeah, we had some really great shares too. Can we go forward and see if there's anything that we need to, as we're moving towards our last slide?
You want me to go there?
Yeah.
Well, next slide.
I think then, yeah, you can go forward. We believe in mutuality, and validation is one way to stay with the person rather than trying to do something else. What's next, Roman? Do you want to speak to that, Todd? Or these are comments that some of the seniors in our program stated when asked, has anything changed in your life as a result of the peer support? And these are things that they said to the reviewer, the evaluation person, who is not one of the members of our staff. So we actually, I did not intend for this program to be a highlight of our program so much as the skills, but we do have a research component, and we have demonstrated an effective, significant reduction of loneliness, about 25%, as an impact of just one weekly call. Todd, you go.
Yeah, the seniors, the lessons from the elders, just sitting in discomfort when you're first getting to know the person, on your very first phone call, and what it leads to, what we're seeing that it leads to is a new relationship, one that's valued, and that kind of down the lines of intentional peer support, that final task is moving towards. And so when you have the weekly phone calls with your peer, it starts out and it's got its awkwardness and difficulty, but once the senior experiences validation for this period in their life where it seems like life maybe is over and there's nothing left, and you end up in a relationship that gets their resilience kind of charged up again. It's like resilience is in there in each of us through pain and loss and discomfort, but it really feels good when you decide at some level, and who knows when that happens, but you've been through a loss, and then you come out the other side, and it's time to sort of rediscover what you want to do next. And we're seeing that seniors at all ages, 55 to some of our seniors are in the 90s, they still want to do things. They discover within a conversation that they still want to do things, and then they make statements like this. So it's been wonderful to travel is one of our words that we use with older adults. You get to spend time with them and travel with them, through what's meaningful in their lives. And once they've got a partner, a peer support to travel with, then things happen. Amazing things happen.
Nice.
It's been a great journey.
So Todd, I'm wondering if we can maybe just open up the conversation, because we only have a few minutes.
Sure, sure. Yeah.
So I need to find, so yeah, unmute. I gotta unmute everyone.
Roman,
Yeah,
can you post the number for peer support during this, because one of the people that was in my breakout session might need it.
pureapocalypse.com.
What is it?
pureapocalypse.com. So www.pureapocalypse.com has the listing.
Okay. Did you
Yeah.
get that?
I will put that in the chat right now.
Thank you, Roman.
Thanks for looking out for your peer.
Thanks, everybody. I think the next slide might have a question on it. No?
Let's see. One moment.
The number that's going up now is the warm line, and you're free to call that.
Thank you too, Brenda.
So that's the John Prine. Had we talked about doing that, or?
Sharon was suggesting that we move into just an open conversation with the time that we have left.
All right, so let me get out of here.
Good.
Yay.
Hey.
And
can we all hear each other?
Yeah, I hear you just fine.
I hear you.
We can unmute ourselves, I believe.
yeah, I was looking to unmute and I can't find that button. So if you want to chime in, go ahead and just unmute yourself and let's go.
Especially any insights about what allows you to stay resilient, or how you do what you do in caring for people who are experiencing this loss and grief. I would love to hear more sharing on that.
I have found that the biggest thing is the first thing I do is I let them know I can share your grief because I have grief and loss. I may not feel the same as you, but I'd like to hear what's going on. They'll talk. A lot of them express fear, loneliness, just total disability. And I reassure them that these feelings they're having are okay. We may not like them, but they are things that we need to go through. And if I can be of help by being a source to be like a sounding board, there is no judgment in my world. It's just I want to help you feel better and help you through this. I've been there, I've done that. It's not easy, and I totally get it. I mean, I'm just me.
Yeah.
And Sharon, you, the times that we have interacted at conferences, you have really helped me just from the hug.
Aww. I'm missing those hugs today, let me tell you.
Oh, me too.
Me three.
But I think I can openly talk about my fear of being alone and my loss. Mm-hmm. And I feel okay. Because I know I may not like it, that I know that I need to say, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't creep in the back door and overtake me again. And I'm going on 6 years since my loss.
It looks like Roman is giving us what was that, Roman?
So I think Sharon answered Chris. Chris had a hand up.
Yeah, thanks, Roman. Can we get?
We had a couple of more comments in the chat as well.
I want to acknowledge it's 2 o'clock, and if you want to stick around for a few minutes, maybe we'll go for 5 minutes or so more.
10
more. Yay.
The way it is usually at conferences. Sometimes we go over. So if you want to stick around, feel free. If you want to go, that's good too.
We'd love to hear your comments, and if us too, we'll play John Prine. No.
For those that have been in the workshop, thanks for attending. And then Nabel, if you guys got to go, have a great rest of your Peer Apocalypse experience online. Hang in there. It'll be a marathon online on screen. Nabel was saying that sometimes grief and loss have an extended time frame, and what are some of the things that are what's effective in peer support around extended grief?
Patience.
Anybody?
I don't have a good answer.
Yeah, maybe that's just a good comment to realize there's a spectrum of how long it lasts for different people. Yeah.
Absolutely. Can we open a space for Chris? Chris, can you speak up if you're still here?
Oh, I just wanted to share. I know that when I first got into peer support, I was fortunate enough to meet up with someone who helped me understand grief is way more than just with death and dying. It's all lost, all change. And by learning about the grief cycle, what you're going through, that it's normal, that it's overlapping as you have multiple losses and you're in different stages of grief, I think it has helped me as a person hugely, and particularly as a peer support person. And I know some of you here know I had co-developed a peer support training for family peer support early in my journey, and we included training about grief and recognizing that that's what people were going through. And that was one of the sections I had a lot of comments on, that people said no one had ever brought that to their attention, no one had talked to them, and how important and valuable that is. So just thank you for addressing this, not just in our older population, but the losses everyone experiences and that is going through grief, and hoping this is taught more so people are aware of that's what's going on, and how you help people deal with it might need to be done differently, or just as your understanding increases, we can help support people in a more effective way. It's that skill building piece. So thank you, Sharon and Todd and Roman. And when I saw the beginning, all the talk with the seniors program, I was really afraid it wasn't going to touch on that loss we all experience, no matter when there's change in our life. And that came out loud and clear in every one of my breakout sessions. So thank you folks who were there with me, especially if you're still on here. So that was it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Well, I think we also have to be aware of anniversary dates, because a lot of times our people don't realize it's an anniversary date. But maybe if we know it, then we can be prepared to help them be prepared.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was going to say, I had an outstanding grief counselor back in Nashville, and she does social work through Vanderbilt University Medical Center, which is where I worked. And the one thing she told me is, she said, do not put a time limit on your grief.
Right.
It may never end, but that's okay. We can help you learn how to live with your grief.
Right.
And that's where I'm at now.
Yeah.
I can talk about him and not cry. I can talk about crazy things we did, sentimental things, and I don't break down and just fall apart. And I like to share that with people. Better times do come, but you have to work to it. I'm here to support you. If you need to call me every 5 minutes, okay, we'll get through it.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly telling people not to say, there's nothing you can do. It's going to happen. The sort of Eeyore complex, you know, oh, well, doesn't matter anyway. That's not true.
We were talking too about the discomfort that it brings up for another person who is hearing about something difficult that a person's going through. You know, the telephone could be just a magic tool if it's not the right time to make oneself available. Like if it's at work, I think we were talking about that scenario. You know, you could give a peer your phone number and, you know, just have time when it's not during work, or just any time that might break the ice if it's difficult, and the telephone might be a good tool. That's working for the senior outreach program, and maybe we forget about that tool sometimes, just in general, to make ourselves available if someone's going through a hard time.
Yep.
Well, and now we can do Zoom. We can see each other now if we want to, if they're comfortable with that. And if they're not, that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. A lot of my peers that call me because they need to talk or something, we do FaceTime through Messenger.
Yep.
And a lot of people who choose not to do the face-to-face, they just want to talk. I finally got my caption phone.
No.
So I can talk to people on the phone.
Oh, good.
And it, oh, it makes me feel so good. I don't feel as lonesome.
Yeah.
People, it has been so great to see you all again. And I'm sorry, but I am definitely going to have to leave.
Yeah.
Linda's a caption phone. Linda's a caption phone for people who are hard of hearing, or are you talking about texting?
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Todd. And thank you too, Roman.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well,
Good to see everybody.
Good night. Thanks for all being here.
What was your question, Laura?
Working on it, and we hope to hear more from you too, so we can all keep working on it.
I want to know what you meant by a caption phone.
Oh, it is a phone that is free. If you go online to captioncall.com, as long as you have internet, they tie it into, if you have a cell phone, it goes through your cell phone to the telephone through your internet using the Bluetooth. And there is a slight delay, but as they talk, it comes out on a little printed screen on your phone.
Wow. So it helps for hearing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that resource.
I'm glad to see you laugh, Gina. I do that. People look at me like I'm crazy.
I don't know if Julia is still on there. One of our.
She might have just signed
I think
out.
she just signed out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, too bad. But thank you all for being here. I think we're going to bring this to a close unless anyone has an inspiration. Last statement. All right. Todd, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon.
Yep.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone. Thanks, Roman. Great
Thank
to meet you.
guys.
Great to meet you, Nabel.
Have a great conference week, everybody.